Finally, it's happening. It's right there knocking on the door. Saturday, UFC 249 is going down. So that's going to be incredible. So we got that card that we're going to talk about. In other news, we got Bellator coming out saying that they have an idea of how to put on fights. So that's an interesting little tidbit because some people were like skeptical about it, but we'll break that down and so much more with the brothers. But in the meantime, let's get to the hottest topic that's going down in Jacksonville. Fighters have already shown up. They're already game ready for their fights on Saturday. UFC 249, finally, Sean, it is happening. No more postponement. No more, is it going to happen? It is going to happen.
And it's going to happen in unique circumstances and a unique time frame. It's one of those things that you can't exactly predict or know that it was going to all come to fruition. But here we are, knocking on the door, May 9th. We get some sense of normality back. And yeah, you know what? We've been outspoken about we don't want this. But it's here, so we might as well embrace it, right? That's what it comes down to. Embrace the weird. That's been my whole model through this whole pandemic thing is embrace the weird. Embrace the uncomfortability of
the situation at hand.
Of whatever may come from whatever is out there right now.
Yeah. Now you're headlined by Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje, which originally, I mean, this card, even though that it is stacked from top to bottom, and we have strongly thought about where it can actually go, is that at this point in time, Sean, it has happened that we've had a lot of fallout with fighters and a lot of what ifs, is that Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje is the main event.
Yes.
It is going to happen. No more fighters at this point have pulled out or are going to pull out. So Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje, you got Henry Cejudo, Dominic Cruz. Those are your headliners. And I'm okay with it. The interesting thing that I'm not hearing a lot of people talk about the Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje is, Sean, is that we're talking about Justin Gaethje finally getting a title shot.
Absolutely. Getting what he felt has been deserving to him.
And kind of rightfully
long.
so. It's not horrible. It's not horrible when you're looking at Justin Gaethje, who is a man that I tend to believe. And I'll tell you why. Because when this guy says that he has adapted or changed his style, he tends to do that.
Yeah.
When he says that he needed to slow down in his fight IQ, and he does that.
But does he?
So there's a lot of things that I tend to believe him when he comes into this. Like he said that this is the best fight camp he's had. He's had, I think, something like 10 months that he has mentally, physically prepared for this fight. I don't put it past him. I don't.
See, you said that he's altered and he's changed from what he once was. I don't see that from him. The only thing I've seen him not do as frequent as he used to do in World Series of Fighting was the fact that he doesn't throw his leg kicks as much or hasn't in the last couple of fights. I want to see him get back to that. If he gets back to that, Tristan, it doesn't matter what Tony Ferguson is going to do. And it was interesting because I brought this up on Cited the other day, was that I asked the fight fans, okay, who do you got, Tony Ferguson or Justin? 52% said that they've got Tony Ferguson. 47% said they got Justin. It's almost split down the middle of who's going to go for who. And it's very easy to sway either way because you're looking not necessarily at the same style of fighter, but in a sense, for me, they almost are because I say that they both are uncomfortable to be in that octagon with. Because you don't know, for Tony Ferguson, you don't know from one way to the next if he's going to get all quirky and throw a capoeira kick or something like that, do a cartwheel. You don't know. When you get Justin Gaethje, you don't know if he's going to throw his heavy-handed kicks. For all you know, he may go very well into this match and say, you know what? Let me go wrestling. Because what many people fail to realize, Justin Gaethje is a world-class wrestler. But wait, so is Tony Ferguson. So this could go so many different ways.
100%. This could go so many ways. But Tony Ferguson, while I think that he is one of the most well-rounded fighters and one of the fighters that could probably do a lot more than a lot of people can, my thinking, and it might happen, is that Justin Gaethje has a lot of power, right?
Oh, absolutely. Power for days.
The thing that kind of sways me to Justin Gaethje and picking him as my winner is because Justin Gaethje has that power. Yes, he could do several different things inside that cage. Tony Ferguson has a suspected chin.
Yeah, and I go back to
getting clipped is very real, but he has never faced a fighter that has been able to capitalize on that suspect chin.
And you know what? That's a very good point, because that's something that I was going to bring up, is that one of the fights that stands out why I believe Justin Gaethje can dethrone Tony Ferguson is because I go back to the Anthony Pettis fight versus Tony Ferguson. When Anthony Pettis, we're resorted back to the old school Showtime days, put one-on-one on one of his best fights in quite some time, and he took him to the woodshed, bloodied, battered him, rocked, staggered him. And then it wasn't until a broken hand dethroned Anthony Pettis. And he couldn't continue the same pace and the same style throughout the fight. You're going to run into a buzzsaw in Justin. There is no give. There is no relentless. He's going to fight in that phone booth and go straight at Ferguson. How is Ferguson going to stand a guy that is relentless? That is the key. Relentless.
Who do you have coming out of this as the new champion?
Justin.
See, I'm going with Justin too. I think the idea that Tony Ferguson is here, the idea that Justin Gaethje is here. Here's another situation that why I think Justin Gaethje is going to win this fight is it comes down to the mindset. There's two different mindsets. There's one where Tony Ferguson believes he is the champion, right? Then Justin Gaethje believes that he needs this title. Two different mindsets, two different mentalities going inside the cage. If one believes that he has won, that he has already won, that he has the title, that might be a bad mindset going into a big time fight like that.
Absolutely.
And Justin Gaethje being like, man, I need this fight, I need this title more than anything to justify his legacy and his career. That's a different mindset. Going forward, I think Justin Gaethje with that mindset is right, and the falsehood of already being this bravado that he is the champion of Tony Ferguson, I'm going to go Justin Gaethje. And a lot of people out there all rooting for Tony Ferguson. Everybody out here is SoCal, Tony, everybody. And just everything that I have seen and critiqued. I mean, Tony Ferguson can do all the one-arm push-ups on tree trunks. All he wants. Come game time, apples to oranges. It's going to be Justin Gaethje for me. And then you also look at on the co-main event, which is Henry Cejudo and Dominic Cruz. Again, I'm thinking the same kind of mindset, right? I think Dominic Cruz needs this fight, and I think he needs this title. Henry Cejudo, he just keeps talking and talking and talking and talking.
You talk about that bravado. Henry Cejudo has that. And when you look at the transition to where we're at right now, Tristan,
yeah,
in terms of ability to talk and ability to convey your message, Henry Cejudo has that capability right now to sell a fight. And it was mentioned that it was asked cited that, okay, who do you have? Dominic Cruz or you have Henry Cejudo? And quickly, my thinking was, well, it's an easy debate. It really is. it is a clean cookie cutter debate more than anything else on paper. Like when you look at Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje, that is about as split down the middle as you can get. But when you get to Dominic Cruz and you get to that of Henry Cejudo, to me, it's more a little bit lopsided in the favor of Henry Cejudo because Dominic Cruz, injuries, layoff, all matter.
That's exactly why I think he needs it.
Matter. Yeah, he needs this. I don't think the outcome is favorable. And I say that because of the fact that if Henry Cejudo can come out and lay out, what's his name, TJ Dillashaw, then there is no way that a aging veteran who has injuries and a layoff can come in and go ahead and compete against a guy who is a high-level caliber striker as well as wrestler in terms of Henry Cejudo. Striker-wise, I'd probably give the edge to Dominic Cruz, but wrestling, the grip strength, I've got to favor Henry Cejudo.
If he could get it to the ground, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. But if Dominic Cruz comes in there and he's bouncing around and he's sticking out that jab and he's keeping that distance and he looks electrifying, it is bad news and a bad matchup for Henry Cejudo. And that title might be coming back to Dominic Cruz. That's the way that I see this. These two fights are almost parallel to one of another because of the direction that they have gone and where they are going. And these title fights could change the landscape of the direction of where the UFC is going in the near future.
And you're looking at UFC 229. It's changing the landscape. 249. The landscape of mixed martial arts to begin with on a number of levels. The fact that this is going to be in front of no fans. The fact that it's for an interim lightweight title. The fact that it's Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje headlining this. There's a lot of parallels that we're talking about the altering.
Sean, that reminds me. Sorry to kind of cut you off because you brought up the no crowds. What's your thought process of, because we're brothers, so the social distancing, it doesn't really apply here. But to have the commentators at separate tables away from each other, how's that chemistry or the camaraderie that they have going to kind of come out onto television? Because a lot of times, at least to us, we feed off of each other. Like if you see something, there's an emotion, there's something that you feel when you're right next to each other and you're calling a fight, right?
Yeah.
So if you take away that kind of idea, you've seen all the videos with like Joe Rogan, Daniel Cormier, and so on, and John Anik, and the way that they feed off of each other. It's something to behold when you actually see the videos of the reactions. If you take that away, what's the presentation going to be like? You get what I'm saying?
Well, that's the whole thing, is what's the presentation going to be like? This whole pay-per-view is going to set the tone for the UFC going forward, for what the future of MMA is going to be like going forward. Like I was going to say, as you were getting into the safety protocols and stuff like that, is that if Justin Gaethje wins, it changes everything. If Dominic Cruz, it changes everything. So everything's already been changed. Everything's already been tweaked. You talk about the UFC protocol, but yet you stay on this fight card real quick and you look at another guy that drawn a parallel of where is his career going. Sam Alvey came out and said that if he loses again, he has a fear that UFC is going to cut him. He's had so many fights, pull out, draw out. It's like, how focused is he for this fight?
He's the one guy that has literally been ready for UFC 249 since day one.
Yeah. And then you look at everything and you're talking about the protocols. John Anik, Joe Rogan, DC, all going to do commentary for this. You're talking about them being 6 feet apart. How well is that going to play off? Well, they're not going to do in-cage interviews.
Yep. No in-cage interviews.
They're going to bring the fighters outside of the cage into an isolated area with a sanitized headset.
Sean, who did that before?
Where Joe Rogan is going to be several feet apart.
Hey, who's done that before?
Oh, yeah, we have.
Dave Bramlett, Lorenz Larkin. Somebody's watching us. But yeah, it's just going to be interesting presentation. UFC 249. It's happening Saturday
With no fans.
No fans.
But here's the things.
I'm kind of ecstatic that I get to see a fight.
Yeah, but here are the interesting tidbits that are going into UFC 249, okay? Let's make this perfectly clear for the fans. Fighters and corners will be tested today.
Yes.
And then they will be self-isolated, waiting for results up to 24 hours. They'll get the results back in 24 hours. They'll be tested for COVID-19 and the antibodies. They have enough test kits for everybody. The only test kits that they're worried about a little bit is the following week's fight cards. But they said they'll work that out. They'll have individual medic screening. Individuals will be done temperature-wise. Will be tested for the temperature, and they'll be done every day of every minute as they are being walking around. They'll have their own hotel room where it'll be isolated, where they have the ability to have mats, sanitized mats, and everything else that they'll need, as well as I believe they said they'll have a sauna for them.
Yes. So all precautions are there.
That nobody else will be there. The production is going to be interesting. You talked about the production. The production generally is about 130 people. They're now down to about 80 something. They're going to have a mobile group and then a production truck group.
Yes.
So normally they have everybody in a production group in their truck. This time they're not having that. So they separated them into two. The people that are going to be in the truck are going to be separated by plexiglass.
Yeah. So you and I both know about what
partitions.
And you and I both know about mobile production because, again, to be scaled down, to have a scaled down crew and mobile production, we've actually been part of something like that. So we know how intense it is and the constant where you have to keep talking to people. You have to keep it up. You got to know when your cuts, when your feeds are, where you need to be at all times, where you're moving to. You got to be one step ahead every single step of the way. I'm sure there's going to be some kind of hiccups. I'm sure there is. And it's going to be an interesting thing to see. But UFC 249 is going down. As much as I disagree with the fact that we are putting people into harm's way, I get it. I get to do my job, so it's all good. UFC 249, guys, it's going to be interesting Saturday night. So looking forward to seeing everybody's reactions coming down the pipeline